Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today we are going to talk about the Republican budget and veterans and my trip to the diner, which turned out to be pretty illuminating. So I'm hungry and I go up to the diner. Now keep in mind, it's a small southern town. The diner is not just a diner, it's also kind of a town hall and a meeting place. I go in, I'm standing up by the counter. The counter is where all the vets sit. All the veterans sit up there with, black hats, yellow lettering, says the name of their ship, or has the ribbons to show where they were at, whatever. Most of these guys are there pretty much every day because they're vets who got hurt and can't work anymore. And because it is also the town hall, people are talking about the big news of the day, which is a Republican getting really mad that the VA kind of gamed out how they would deal with these massive cuts that are in the Republican budget. And there's a guy who is not sitting up at the counter, mind you, who's sitting there in one of the booths, and he's like, Republicans are not going to cut veterans benefits. And he's getting mad talking to whoever he's at the booth with. One of the guys up at the counter turns and he says, there is no exemption for the VA in the budget. The guy yells, Republicans would not do that. Guy at the counter turns back and looks at him. In the budget, the Republican Party passed with a 22% cut. There is no exemption for the VA. It's not would do that. They already did that. And somebody else at the counter kind of chimes in and says they're trying to use it to negotiate. And the guy that's sitting in the booth, he's like, Republicans would not use veterans as pawns. The laughter that erupted from all of those vets was possibly the funniest thing I have ever seen. And somebody up there kind of turned and looked at him. He was like, yeah, politicians would never use soldiers as pawns. That's not a thing. That would never occur. So there are a couple of things that this kind of showcases. First, if you are going to try to defend the Republican budget, again, a budget they passed that does not have an exemption for the VA, no matter what they say, they already voted on it. If you're going to try to defend that, I would suggest you not do it to a bunch of disabled vets. That's probably not going to go over well because the conversation got a little bit more heated from there. The other thing to remember is that the budget that they have passed, the budget the Republicans voted in favor of, it contains a 22% top line reduction, okay? The reason they didn't go through and actually work out a real budget is because there is no way for them to get the 22% reduction that they want without touching things that their base needs. Understand, if you're a Republican, you are part of the Republican base, and you are supporting the Republican Party on this, there's a reason they're not telling you what they're going to cut. It's because it's you. They're coming for you. They're coming for your benefits from government. They're not going after what you think they're going after. It's going to impact you. That's why they won't tell you. That's why they're keeping it quiet. That's why they're using vague numbers, and they won't tell you specifically what they're going to cut because it's your farm subsidies, it's your veterans benefits, it's your pay. Keep in mind, a lot of people who work in the trades work at places that are in some way funded or subsidized by the federal government. They're coming after you with this budget. That's why they're not telling you. They're saying that it's a negotiating point, using you as a pawn, just like they did the vets at the counter. But it's not to get to the point where they're not cutting you, where they're not cutting stuff that's for you. They're just trying to negotiate how much they're going to cut from you. The Republican budget will target the Republican base. There's a reason they're not telling you. Don't forget that. And please, do not argue with a bunch of disabled vets telling them that politicians would not use them as pawns. That's how they wound up sitting at the counter in the first place. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.